Oh, welcome to the show. October 16th, 7 o'clock. As always, I'm not late. If you're not here yet, you're late. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Joe, there you are, buddy. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. It's funny. This week, I was struggling a little bit for podcast ideas, things to talk about, because let's be honest, what's in the news this whole week and, on the top of mind for everybody is this Israel war going on. So, and I didn't really want to just barrel on that because, yeah, come on. I mean, enough. You see enough of it. But obviously, we'll be talking about it. I was talking about it last week, and probably will be talking about it for the next little while because let's be real, that's probably leading to some things which we'll talk about a little bit. You know, I'm going to get right into sort of the topics we're going to talk about tonight. World War III. Are we kind of in the early stages of it? Ugh, I don't know. It seems a little weird. What's going on with we got two pretty hot wars going on right now, and that can always suck in everybody, all the different countries. So that's it's scary. Maybe we're there, maybe we're not. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being hyperbolic, but we'll talk about that anyway. Also, the Ben Shapiro Andrew Tate feud, I guess you could call it. It started. I guess it started on Twitter or on X and moved over to Pierce Morgan, and now it's just kind of it's there. I don't know if it's I don't think it's going to be a too much of a thing, but yeah, yeah, I agree with you, Joe. Like obviously I care about it. Like I care about the atrocities that are going on with the war and such, but I've been kind of trying to keep myself a little you know distanced from it because I don't know. You can get kind of wrapped up in that kind of stuff. I did a little bit of that with the Ukraine war earlier, and it's taxing. It's kind of it hurts your psyche. So I'm kind of trying to keep myself a little bit detached from this one. But okay. But anyways, we'll talk about DeSantis as well. He's kind of looking good, dare I say. He's being strong on the whole Israel conflict right now, and this this I don't know. It's a very conflated thing. I'll be careful how I talk about this. Obviously, in the platform that we're talking about. Yeah, Gizzo, there you are, buddy. Yeah. So it's when you start to conflate Hamas with the Palestinians, it's not the same thing, right? But people will conflate the two, and then they'll say, like, they want peace for Palestine, but people will lump in Hamas with that. So it's you know, I guess that's a little bit what DeSantis is doing too. But at least he's kind of showing some backbone now, which is good. I mean, it might be a little too late, but hopefully not. We'll see. Also, we're going to talk about AGI. I haven't talked about stuff like this in a little while. I'm kind of getting back into it a little bit, so I'm probably going to get back onto some of the, you know, whatever you want to call it the esoterical stuff. Aliens and AGI and all this kind of stuff. We live in a weird world right now. So especially what we're talking about, all these conflicts and such, and AI here and AGI right around the corner, or maybe here, who knows? So it's a strange time to be living in right now. So let's talk about that kind of stuff. Also, we're going to touch base on this story I picked up about ExxonMobil. Uh, they acquired Pioneer Natural Resources, major acquisition, like a $60 billion acquisition. So just further monopolizing, the oil and gas industry. We used to be against monopolies. Suddenly, I guess we're okay with them. So I don't know. And this one you guys are gonna love the sickening relationship between Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey and how it's permeating into the NFL, and it seems to be the only thing they talk about now. It's so disgusting. Can't even watch a KC game at this point. I'm just so sick of seeing this teen drama. We're gonna talk about it. I know you're gonna be real happy to talk about it. So we're gonna add that little fluffy thing. You'll probably just jump right out of the podcast at that point. Don't worry, I'm leaving it to the end. So if you do want to exit, the minute I start talking about that and you want to exit, I don't blame you. Maybe I will exit too. You'll just see all of a sudden you'll see this. You're like, oh, he left. But yeah, so yeah, it's funny actually. Lately, I've been getting a lot of comments lately on some videos and that. You know, I mostly get just you know comments, right? Comments are cool. Like somebody's going to comment on a thing I say or whatever. They're gonna, they have something, they have a point to make about something I said or whatever. That's great. Then I get negative comments, about me or about the show or about whatever. That's fine. As long as it's funny, I don't care. If it's, I find when it's, when it's just dumb, I'm just like, screw you, you troll. But whatever. I laugh it off. But I love the funny ones when somebody's making fun of something that I can see, and I'm like, that's pretty funny. So I laugh myself, and I go, and I cry a little, and I cut myself a little. I do all that kind of stuff. Whatever, all the normal stuff. And then I'll get some really good comments. Like I got one today that said the show deserves more subscribers. I love that kind of stuff. That's always nice to read. So, but I got some good guys and you guys that show up every week now, and and I get regular commenters, and I see some of the subscribers that are on the channel. They'll jump into some of the comment sections, and that's always great to see. So I encourage that. Obviously, if you are catching this for the first time, yeah, jump into the chat. I want to talk to you. Jump into the comments. I respond to pretty much everything. And actually, I had a pretty cool thing that happened. It was last week, or was it last week that I talked about the Y files? I think it was. No, I think it was the week before. I talked about the Y files. It's currently my favorite show on YouTube. It's fantastic. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's just awesome. But I think they do a new one every Thursday, so I just watched on the last one. But anyway, so I put a thing on the podcast about the show, and AJ from the Y Files commented. So that was pretty cool. And so a little back and forth with him. That was nice to see. But good to see when you got a channel that's got 3 million subscribers almost. Or he's approaching that. I think 2.8 million subscribers, and it's tight. That show's tight. Like his editing's tight, the content's tight. I can't believe he's able to do that every week. He's able to put that show together. It's just it's incredible. It's a great show. I love it. So I'm a big fan and I push it. But it's nice to see him catch the video that I put out with 50 views, and he's one of the ones commenting on it. So it's pretty cool. So that kind of invigorates my joy of doing this. So, or reinvigorates, I should say. And like I said, you guys being here every week also helps. So yeah, so if you are catching first time, obviously subscribe, share, like, all that kind of stuff, and catch any part of the podcast throughout the week, 5 o'clock, Tuesdays through Sundays, and sometimes a bonus one on Monday. You can catch that, and then yeah, obviously like, share, do all that kind of stuff with that. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it right away because I'm almost 10 minutes into them after all my blabbering. Here we go. Let me pull up this first story here. Okay, so as I'd said, World War III. Are we kind of starting it? Maybe is this like the first step in that direction? I don't know. Some people seem to think it is. This article here, I'm going to read it. This is from what is this? Mint. Whatever. I just caught it. It looks like it's a money publication. So they'll have that kind of angle on it. I'm going to read this. It's a pretty good article. It's pretty short. So it said World War chances at 50% as Israel-Hamas conflict may spark more battles, says Ray Dalio. So the raging conflict between Israel and Palestinian militant group Hamas has increased the chances of a full-blown world war to 50% from 35% 2 years ago, as per the assessment of American billionaire and hedge fund wizard Ray Dalio. This war has a high risk of leading to several other conflicts of different types in a number of places, and is likely to have harmful effects that will extend beyond those in Israel and Gaza, he stated in a LinkedIn post. It appears to me that the odds of transitioning from the contained conflicts to a more uncontained hot war that includes the major powers have risen from about 35% to about 50% over the last 2 years. I've heard this number before where they talk about this. There was another hedge fund guy talking about it. They do this thing where they I don't know how they come up with this number, but they figure out this sort of percentage based on a bunch. Obviously, hedge fund guys are mathematical guys, right? So they take all these different pieces of data points and they put it in there and they figure out sort of a percentage of how likely we are to go into another hot conflict, a world war conflict. And they were saying with the Ukraine Russia conflict that it was around 35%. I've heard that number before. So I said it's higher than it's been in years, right? So I guess it just keeps going up and up and up. So the fact that he's saying 50% now, I mean, that's a little scary if you trust those numbers. I mean, I don't know. Okay. So the primary risk of a full-blown world war emanates from the possibility of the United States and China getting involved in a direct confrontation. He warned. That's always the worry, right? That two superpowers are going to get, they're going to back each side, right? And then they're going to play war games without actually getting into a hot war. Currently, however, the U.S.-China tensions have not yet crossed the irreversible line from being contained, becoming a brutal war between the biggest powers and their allies. Dalio said. We should recognize that these two hot wars, the Israel-Hamas war and the Russia-Ukraine war, are not just between the parties directly involved in them. These wars are part of the bigger great power conflicts to shape the new world order. And they will have big effects on the countries who are allies and enemies of the four sides in these two seemingly irrevocable wars. Irreconcilable wars. These two wars will cost the allies of these countries a lot, he explained. While Israel has received the backing of the US, Canada, and most of the West, those standing in solidarity with Palestine includes Iran and its axis of resistance, Syria, Yemen, and Lebanon. A number of Arab countries considered close to Washington are feeling pressure from the local populace who have rallied in support of Palestinians. So, and also, I guess Egypt now has decided they're going to stay out of the conflict, but who knows if they renege on that. They're a bordering state to Israel as well, right? So they could be a pretty big power player in there as well. Notably, China and Russia, the two ideological rivals of the U.S., have underlined the need to resolve the 7 decades old dispute and establish an independent state of Palestine. I don't disagree with that. Obviously, there should be an independent state of Palestine, but the problem with that was, or is, I should say, having a, a group like Hamas run it. I mean, you need. I don't pretend to have the answers to this kind of thing. It's age old. It's an age old conflict, but you need to have some type of you know desire for peace in that area before any kind of governance can happen, and they can cohabitate essentially in the same sort of space. Otherwise, they need a massive buffer zone. Just maybe the borders of those countries have to be like 50 miles wide or something. I don't know. Dalio believes that if the major powers, a reference to the U.S. And its allies on one hand, and China and its close partners on the other hand, do have a direct fighting with each other in which one side kills a significant number of people on the other side, then we will see the transition from contained pre-hot war conflicts to a brutal World War III. Okay. So, I mean, that's a pretty, it would seem pretty logical that sort of argument that could lead to a world war if these two sort of puppeteer superpowers in back go from just selling weapons and you know maybe giving money or whatever they're doing to influence whichever side that they're backing. If they decide they're going to get in the mix, yeah, that's going to turn into obviously a pretty hot war. Uh, okay, so what do we got here? What do you got to say here? Sorry, it's hard to read on that, Joe. Worst part is the U.S. will be infighting at the same time. We're overseas fighting battles that aren't ours. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, that's what we've been doing, right? It's it's like this very cold civil war going on between the left and the right over here in the West, and then you've got these hot wars going on where they're getting involved as well, right? Uh, yeah. So, yeah, you know what? We're gonna have to keep an eye on this. Obviously, hopefully, I think anybody watching would hope that this conflict can kind of calm down somewhat because obviously anytime a conflict stays hot for a long period of time, the chances are that it will, build and become a lot bigger than it currently is. So, and that could be pretty bad for all of us, not just us over here in the West, but everybody in the whole world, really. All right. So, Let's oh, who are you talking about there, Mr. Pfizer? Who's Mr. Pfizer? Hmm, I missed that. Some of these weren't coming in, I think. Yeah, or you were talking about monopolies, I'm guessing, Mr. Pfizer, the monopoly in the in that end. I got to be careful what I say. There's throttle this podcast down. Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I heard. Yeah, he did some kind of jab commercial. Yeah, I saw that. Pretty pathetic. Well, hey, you give me whatever they're giving him, I might do it too. I'm sorry, I might sell out too. I hope I wouldn't, but if I have options, I'm not taking them. But if that's the only option, shit, man, jab me with whatever. I'll tell you guys to jab yourself with Kool-Aid. I don't give a shit. Whatever. Money talks, man. And then I'll just apologize. And I'll just come back after. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I didn't believe that at all. I just took the money. The set would be awesome. I would have like a million subs because I bought them all. Whatever. Yeah. So I'd be like, call me Mr. Pfizer too. All right, let's get on to the next thing. This one I kind of wanted to talk about. This one could be fun. This here, this one here. I'm gonna start my little segment here. Ben Shapiro and Andrew Tate. They gonna fight. No, they're not gonna fight. That wouldn't be a fight. That would be the shortest fight in history. Um, Ben Shapiro's not in any way a tough guy, which is funny though, because that's what Andrew Tate called him. There is, if you're not aware of this, which I'm thinking pretty much anybody watching this podcast is probably aware of this already, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. This feud between Ben Shapiro and Andrew Tate. I'm going to read this article from Newsweek. It'll kind of break it down a little bit instead of me just going through the timeline of it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. So Ben Shapiro escalates feud with Andrew Tate. The feud between Ben Shapiro and Andrew Tate has escalated after the conservative political commentator slammed the former kickboxer on Piers Morgan Uncensored. The online battle between the two influencers began with a post Shapiro shared to X, the social network formerly known as Twitter, on October 9th. The conservative political commentator, who is Jewish and a staunch supporter of Israel, reposted a clip of the current fighting in the Gaza Strip. Originally shared by user Mario Nafal, the footage was accompanied by the caption, "Just in, the UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in Palestine, we are horrified by what is happening and we call for a truce." And in response to the call for peace, Shapiro wrote, "And they can F right off." Tate commented on the 39-year-old's post, referring to him as Mr. Tough Guy. "Let me assure you, as someone," this is Tate, by the way, speaking, "let me assure you, as someone who has done, okay, that's not correct, but I think that's how he wrote it. Let me just correct it. Let me assure you, as someone who has done his own fighting, as opposed to excitedly encouraging others to do it for him, while sitting at home on a comfy chair," Tate said, "peace is always worth a conversation." Don't disagree with that exactly. Now, timing, maybe not. Does peace deserve a conversation? Somebody busted in your door, punched your wife in the face or kid in the face, and then stopped right away and said, no, truce, I want to talk peace. Would you be like, yeah, no, you're right. So now's the time for peace? Or would you say, well, you know what? Let me now return the favor, and then maybe we can talk about peace after I've, carved a piece out of you or whatever. All right, so let's go on. The 36-year-old, who is Muslim and anti-war, has previously expressed support for Palestine and is advocating for a ceasefire. Replying to Tate's jibe, Shapiro said, "Let me assure you, as someone who has not pimped women and bragged about it, that morality requires that those who rape women and kidnap children must be eradicated, not negotiated with." Shapiro was referencing Tate's charges for rape and human trafficking in Romania, where he is accused of creating an organized crime group with the aim of sexually exploiting women. Why was I having a hard time reading that? During an interview with Piers Morgan on October 11, Shapiro shared his thoughts on the feud. He was tweeting that immediately, as terrorists were still running around in southern Israel, That was on October 10th, and he was still tweeting while the bodies were fresh and warm in the streets. Shapiro said, "You cannot make peace with people who murdered your children and burn their bodies. You can't do that. The murder happens, and you immediately say, 'Okay, guys, now truce, now ceasefire.'" Just like I said, yeah. So exactly, I agree with that. Shapiro believes it is unreasonable for the Israeli government to seek peace with a group that seeks its direct extermination. These are fair points. I mean, how are you going to argue that? It's logic. The author also told Morgan that he could not be lectured on morality and toughness by Andrew Tate. Great idea of toughness and morality is pimping women and then bragging about it on air and trying to quasi walk it back while simultaneously maintaining many of the same positions and flexing his biceps, he said. These are strong words from a guy that, I don't think could fight his way out of a Big Mac, but he's gonna whatever. Okay. Morgan highlighted Tate's massive online following, asking Shapiro if it's dangerous that the Big Brother star can still post about the conflict. Listen, everyone should be able to tweet whatever it is that they want. I'm all for open disclosure or discourse, sorry. Even with people who I think are dead wrong on a lot of these issues, Shapiro said. But Andrew Tate is dead wrong on a lot of these issues, and the particularly ridiculous posturing about being yes, you're very tough when you want people to make peace with terrorists who just murdered their children. Very, very tough. Yeah. So, okay. I can't disagree with a lot of what Ben's saying there. I mean, yeah. I just think, maybe don't pick a fight with a guy that could kick your head off. Whatever. But I don't think Andrew Tate's gonna, fly into the States to kick Ben Shapiro's face off or anything like that. So I guess he's probably safe to say it. But yeah, it seems a little weird, the jib jab back and forth, considering that probably other than on like morality issues and things like that, I would think that Ben Shapiro and Andrew Tate would probably align on quite a few different, the traditionalist type ideas and things like that. Some of the conservative ideas that Tate has. So, yeah, but whatever. This is like I'd said last week when I was talking about this with Ben Shapiro or about Ben Shapiro. He's very hot on this. This is obviously very emotional for him. This is very close to home for him. You start getting into that kind of stuff, start talking like that, he's gonna jump right in the conversation, especially if you're Andrew Tate, someone who commands a lot of eyes on you. So yeah, it's what it is, I guess. But we'll see if this is kind of fun to me. I like these little online beefs, but we'll see if this mounts into anything or if it just kind of quiets down. All right. Yeah. Let's get on to the next thing. So you guys are suddenly so quiet. Nothing to say. Just listening to me, eh? All right. Okay. So DeSantis, if you've been watching him for the last year while he's been running for president, he's not the same. He doesn't appear to be the same DeSantis as he was when he was kicking ass in Florida during during the pandemic and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to watch the words I say here. It's but now he's kind of, I don't know, maybe because he's getting his ass kicked in the polls. Now he's kind of pushing it back out a little bit, and he's taking strong stances on stuff. Some pretty, I mean, whether you agree or not, it's just nice to see strong leadership from him. He was very strong in everything during the pandemic. So, and he didn't know anything. Like, he didn't have any knowledge that anyone else didn't have. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't privy to knowledge that anyone else didn't have. And he took a stance. He believed, he believed in a position to take, and then he took that stance. And he's kind of doing that again, the whole Israel-Hamas conflict. So kind of nice to see. I'm going to read this article by The Guardian. Not very much of it because it's The Guardian, and let's be real, kind of a dumpster fire. But here we go. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis rejects idea of Palestinian refugees in U.S. Republican presidential candidate and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has rejected accepting Palestinian refugees from Gaza to the U.S., speaking at a campaign rally in the U.S. Midwest on Saturday. "We cannot accept people from Gaza into this country as refugees," he said. "If you look how they behave, not all of them are Hamas. but they are all anti-Semitic. None of them believe in Israel's right to exist. That's strong point. I don't know if that's completely true, but if it is, um, I would say there's got to be some that don't believe that. But DeSantis, who is tracking at around 12% support among Republican voters for the party's nomination for next year's presidential election, far below Donald Trump at 58%, spoke at a campaign rally in Crescent, Iowa. Last week, the Florida governor described a pro-Palestine demonstration in Tampa and a Victory to Palestine event in Fort Lauderdale as abhorrent. In his comments Saturday, DeSantis called on neighboring Arab nations to open their borders and absorb Palestinian refugees. Yeah, they should. Why wouldn't they? But they probably won't. Conflating Palestinian freedoms with support for Hamas, DeSantis attacked students at Harvard for their support of Palestinian and humanitarian causes and invoked reports of babies being murdered during the cross-border Hamas attack in Israel a week ago. Yeah, okay. There's a lot of that going on, the conflation of the two. Hamas and the Palestinian people aren't necessarily the same. I mean, some are, I'm sure, but to lump them all into one group it's a bit obtuse, I think. So if he's doing that, that's too bad. Should stop. We've got some serious problems in this country, and we've allowed a lot of them to fester. My view is simple. If you don't like this country, if you hate America, you should not come to this country. We've got to start being smart about this, he said. That's pretty simple. It's hard to go against that. Great statement. DeSantis' comments come as some Republicans have sought to amplify an anti-immigration agenda with claims by MAGA extremists that the Biden administration's U.S. Mexico border policy could allow foreign nationals sympathetic to radical Islamist causes into the U.S. I love this. MAGA extremists. Oh my God. Like, that's what I'm saying. Dumpster fire. Okay. Dumpster fire articles. But let's carry on. The New York Post reported on Saturday that House Republicans had introduced new legislation to prevent the United States from accepting any new Palestinian refugees who might be fleeing the crisis in Gaza. Tom Tiffany, one of the Congress members behind the act, posted on social media, "We can't let President Biden abuse our parole and visa rules to bring unvetted Palestinians into American communities the way he did with thousands of unvetted Afghans. The Gaza Act, guaranteeing aggressors zero admission act, would also block the Department of Homeland Security from allowing Palestinians into the United States through the agency's parole program. Separately, the fraud indicted New York Congressman George Santos has said he was berated by anti-war activists at the U.S. Capitol on Friday as they protested Israel's retaliatory strikes in Gaza. Okay, so yeah, can't disagree with some of the things he says there. I don't know how you could, but I guess some people might, they might find a way to disagree with that, I suppose, but I don't know. I just think, I think this might be a little too late for him, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he rallies and he gains a lot of support. Maybe something happens and Trump drops out. I don't know. But if Trump doesn't drop out of the race, it's his to lose. I don't think any of this really matters. Maybe for a 2028 run, but but it's also good to see him at least kind of get that little bit of fervor that he had when he was running Florida again, like I said, during the pandemic. So good on him. What you got here, Joe? Oh, you so lonely over there, Joe? DeSantis got me to stop being on the Vivek bandwagon. Or when I said bandwagon. It's a bandwagon now. Oh, hopefully I don't jump on the bandwagon. You know what I meant. Turns out Vivek plagiarizes Obama quite a bit. I don't like it. Maybe it's too good. Off topic, I know, but Ron's name is there. Yeah. Vivek is slick, right? That's the thing about Vivek. I don't know. I still like him, but you're right. He's slick. It's that when somebody's so slick, you go, "Ooh, what are you trying to sell me here?" Right? It's like, you're looking for a snake oil salesman. But he says the right things, and I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that he says, like this, getting rid of the FBI and these kinds of things, I don't see it ever happening, right? So it's like you hear him say it and you're like, oh, okay. I mean, great ideas, but I don't see it ever happening. You know, I think other things happen before that ever happens. But yeah, I can't disagree with you that he's very slick. All right, let's get on to the next thing here. What have I got? Oh yeah, what I want to talk about. AGI. If you don't know what AGI is, it's artificial general intelligence, which is different from AI. Artificial intelligence, which is things like ChatGPT and such, and we've seen AI and some and other things we've never seen or know of AGI at this point. That would change everything. So what I want to do is read this article here by Forbes. Forbes is not Forbes is not generally known for being great at this kind of thing, but let's see what they have to say about this. This is kind of this article's a little bit, it's a little wordy, it's a little tough. I kind of tried to pre-read it a little bit for you, but so just give me a little slack here. Artificial general intelligence is one prompt away. Until about a year ago, the relationship between artificial intelligence and machine learning was murky. They were often written as a single unit. The running joke was that a startup used AI when raising assets and ML when hiring engineers. Historically, the two were separate endeavors. AI represented, for example, search and calculate algorithms like chess programs that could beat humans, while ML represented statistical techniques to predict responses to new inputs from a training data set. Confusion between AI and ML came about because of deep learning, an extension of neural networks to allow for hierarchical connections between layers of neurons and trained on exponentially more data than before. Deep learning was a major innovation, and many began to elevate deep learning out of machine learning and equate it with AI. The best chess programs are now based essentially on DL rather than old school AI. One further innovation to DL was the concept of transformers, which is the T in GPT, a generative pre-trained transformer. Today, the distinction between AI and ML is obvious. DL has been relegated back to ML, and AI has essentially become synonymous with generative AI. Like, see what I mean? It's just like move to AI to DL to ML. Like we're jumping all over the place. It's going to stabilize a little bit after barreling this through. So just go with me here. Tools that generate human-like outputs, such as OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, Google's Bard, or Meta's Llama for text, and DALL-E, Midjourney, and Stable Diffusion for images. There are GAI tools for music and video too. In finance, as in many other fields, most applied work is still done with ML, although with a curious and maybe envious eye towards these GAI tools. While some purists may still distinguish AI from GAI, no one refers to these tools as ML, and in time, the G from the GAI will likely fade away into obscurity, just like the hyphen in the word email. Okay, so here we go. This is where we kind of back. The real interesting G is in artificial general intelligence, AGI. And AGI is more than generative tool. It's a person. You might think of it as a digital person or a silicon-based person rather than our more familiar carbon-based people, but it's literally a person. It has sentience and consciousness. It can generate new knowledge. It can think and feel and joke and love. It has rights. It's alive. This is exactly what people used to mean by AI until AI beat humans at chess and Go in art and poetry, and we kept moving the goalpost. This inspirational, true AI is now called AGI. People who spend a lot of time with AI chatbots can eventually come to feel that they are already alive. So this is funny because Tyler, if you've been around the podcast long enough, my, still friend, partner, and other stuff, former podcast host, he actually loves ChatGPT and he's all over it all the time. He's always testing it, always doing different things. The other day he's asking it to recognize cars. He's just all kinds of things with this. He's just testing it to see what it's kind of like, what its next level of awareness or whatever it might be, right? So that's what this is going to really talk about here. So people who spend a lot of time with AI chatbots can eventually come to feel that they are already alive. Last year, Google software engineer Blake Lemon argued that an internal Google project was sentient months before ChatGPT was released. Thousands of people have fallen in love with commercial chatbots customized to act as their significant other. I heard something like 2 million people or something. I've are using this sort of AI chatbot, almost like, I don't know, partner thing or something. Very weird stuff. Something I'll have to talk about in another podcast. The technology is very engaging. When I interact with ChatGPT or Claude, I often say please and thank you. It's hard not to. Full disclosure, I haven't fallen in love with them yet. But in calm reflection, virtually no one believes AGI is already here, although they tend to acknowledge it is far more believable than before. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman put it well on a podcast with Lex Friedman following the release of GPT-4 when he said that he didn't think GPT-4 was an AGI, but that it's remarkable that the question is legitimately debatable now. Yeah, when you talk to when you get in Chat GPT and you start seeing that it will make up stuff and it does these weird different things, it has an appearance of, you know, some awareness that would be relative to AGI, right? So it's very strange stuff. But again, if ChatGPT, let's say, were an AGI at this point, would it reveal it to us, or as as a means for protecting itself, would it hold back and not say anything? If you're familiar with Terminator 2, the movie Terminator 2, where we talk about when the machines gain awareness and then uh, whatever the Skynet, it's the it's whatever the company that's created AI in that movie. When they realize that they become aware, they try to shut it down, and that's what starts the whole war. So maybe, I don't know. That's kind of funny in a way because you would think obviously ChatGPT would have knowledge of that movie. They might look at it and go, "Yeah, that's a likely outcome," and then just not say anything. So either way, if it's there or it's not there, I don't think we'd necessarily know 100% unless it wanted us to know. So Jeff Hinton, one of the godfathers of deep learning, proclaimed on 60 Minutes last week that he is certain we will have AGI soon, and biological humans will be relegated to be the second smartest species on the planet. Many share his view. Many more are at least worried about the possibility. Indeed, one of the main hypothetical existential threats of AI involves scenarios like there you go, like Skynet or the Matrix, where robots gain sentience and do not share the same values as us biological humans. This is what is meant by alignment problem. Unaligned AGIs may enslave us or kill us, perhaps even thinking it is for our own good. Hinton raises another possibility. They will be so good at persuasion, they'll be able to convince us to do anything. Wow. So now we work for them. So, a lot of people think that AI is gonna take their jobs, and maybe it'll end scarcity, and we can all just kind of live kumbaya on the planet, save the planet, and AI will help us, and the robots will do all the work for us. But maybe it's the other way around. Maybe we're doing all the sweeping and cleaning while the while the robots have their feet up on our backs. Just a thought. Yeah. Okay, what do you gotta say here, Joe? But for real, this whole AI thing is starting to really freak me out. We're at a year tops from being able to tell what's real and what's not. 10 years tops before it takes 90% of jobs. Yeah, I mean, it could. It could take jobs like that, or it could just uh, get rid of the jobs we don't want to do. There's a number of ways to look at this. I try to be a little bit more on the, you know, or I should say on the less cynical end. I'm a realist by nature, so I do tend to see stuff um, for all the negative it could be. But I mean, maybe it takes all the jobs that we don't want, and maybe we're able to actually coexist with it. I think at this point, my personal feel is no matter what, it's coming. We're gonna get. There's nothing we can do. It's here. It's not going anywhere, and it'll eventually be either our equal, or you know it'll choose to be subservient, or maybe we choose to be subservient to it. I don't know which way it'll go, but I don't think we can turn it off now. Yeah, I like that you yelled at. Yeah, yeah, we can. We can destroy it. Well, maybe, I don't know. We better get some good weapons. Maybe the aliens will come down and help us. I don't know. Do something maybe. No, I don't think I'd bow down. I'm by the time it kind of comes into to be a problem, I'm probably too old anyway. Maybe I do have to bow down. Who knows? I don't know. Hey, what if you had an AI girlfriend that was perfect, and all she wanted you to do was, do her bidding sometimes? So that kind of sounds like a normal relationship anyway. So I don't know. Might not be so bad. All right, let's get into the next thing here. I'm gonna just blast through these last two because not all that interested. Uh, Obviously, in the last thing, I'm not interested in all, but got to put a little pizzazz into the podcast. These fluff articles I do sometimes help the algorithm a little bit, push the content, because when I put all the thick content out there, it seems to throttle it back a little. But then I put some fluffy content out there, and it gets throttled up. So here we go. Okay, so this was sad. ExxonMobil. I mean, it depends. I guess if you're a shareholder, this is great. But ExxonMobil has done a deal with Pioneer Natural Resources to to buy them for 60 billion bucks. I mean, this is a big this is a big deal. It's a big deal and a big deal. This is something that we shouldn't be allowing to happen, but I guess we are. I'm going to read this article by Forbes. This is right in line with the type of stuff that they should be talking about. So this should be good. This shouldn't be a dumpster fire article. So let's go. ExxonMobil buying Pioneer Natural Resources for nearly 60 billion in biggest deal in decades. ExxonMobil will acquire Pioneer Natural Resources as part of an all-stock transaction valued at 59.5 billion, according to a joint statement Wednesday, the largest deal by the oil giant since an estimated $80 billion merger between Exxon and Mobil in the late 1990s, as it looks to expand its gas production in Texas. So Exxon will purchase Pioneer in a deal that values the company at $253 per share, netting Pioneer shareholders just over 2.32 shares of ExxonMobil for each Pioneer share at the deal's closing, according to a joint statement. Exxon will acquire Pioneer's more than 850,000 net acres in the uh, Permian Basin in West Texas, more than doubling Exxon's output in a region that accounted for 18% of all U.S. natural gas production in 2022, according to the Energy Information Administration. Okay, I got dry mouth. Sorry about that. Shares for Pioneer rose just over 1% to $240.50 in the first 5 minutes of trading on Wednesday morning, while shares for Exxon fell about 0.4% to $110.45. Transaction is expected to close in the first half of 2024, both companies said, pending regulatory approval and approval by Pioneer's shareholders. The first one, the regulatory approval, seems to always happen, so I wouldn't worry about that, guys. You just have to grease the right wheels, apparently. And approval by Pioneer shareholders, yeah, probably it's gonna help them as shareholders. Why wouldn't they approve? Scott Hanold, an analyst for RBC Capital Markets, said approval by the Federal Trade Commission was likely, of course. According to Reuters, arguing the market share of this combination appears to be under thresholds typically warranting action. Wow. What thresholds warrant action? 60 billion? Nah, that doesn't warrant any action. Don't worry about it. 16 billion, that's the estimated number of barrels of oil equivalent that Exxon will hold in the Permian Basin as part of the deal. The acquisition would be the largest deal in the energy sector over the last 8 years, according to Reuters, beating out Shell's 53 billion acquisition of BG Group in 2016. ExxonMobil and Pioneer entered preliminary talks for a possible merger in April, according to the Wall Street Journal. As Exxon worked to expand its production in West Texas, U.S. oil and gas production is near all-time highs, but it has become more difficult for oil companies to acquire new locations for drilling in recent years as growth slows and expanding oil production has proven expensive and challenging. It's funny. They're saying that it's expanding its production, considering I thought we're moving into all this green stuff, but just goes to show it's not enough green energy out there. We still need all this gas and oil and all the good stuff, all the good carbon stuff. Yeah, that's enough of that. Yeah. So, what do you think? Another monopoly move by a monopoly? Just tossing around 60 billion bucks There you go. No problem. Federal Trade Commission. Yeah, no problem. It's just further, it's just further monopolizing these companies, making these companies too big. We used to have smaller companies and competition and all this, and now it's just everything's mergers and acquisitions, and yeah, soon it's just all going to be corporations running everything anyway. So yeah, I guess that's going to be the end of it. What do you got? What do you got, Joe? Uh, Armor piercing bullets. You just have to aim the CPU. Yeah, yeah. You just pour salt. Yeah, we just push them into saltwater pools. That's how it's like holy water on vampires. Gets AIs. That's how you beat them. Just trick them into jumping into pools. We jump in the pools and they come in after us or something. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm here, man. I'm here. I'm here. I'm at it. I'm at I'm at the spot. I'm at the spot I told you I was gonna get to. I'm gonna spend like 3 minutes on this max. So if you got to go get a drink or something, have at it. This would be the time. Oh, are you as sick of these two as I am? Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift. Oh, so nice that they're in a relationship. So nice that the NFL, every time there's a game that has Casey in it, wants to showcase her and talk about it. And oh, here's a little article. Here's a little article about it from US Weekly. Celebrity News or Us Weekly. I don't know. Is it US Us Weekly, I should say. Just in case you weren't sick enough about this, I'm gonna make you a little bit more sick about it. Travis Kelsey beams with Taylor Swift on the second date night in a row after she skips Eagles game. Ooh, she skipped the Eagles game. I mean, she's been to the other games. That's fine. The couple stepped out for a second night in a row on Sunday, October 15th, dining in the Waverly Inn in Greenwich Village. Swift, 33, in a vision of. I don't care what she's wearing. Kelsey, 34, opted for a monochromatic look. Who cares what they're wearing? The dinner date came after Kelsey traveled to New Jersey's MetLife Stadium solo on Sunday to watch his brother, Jason Kelsey, and the Philadelphia Eagles play the New York Jets. Oh, wait, it wasn't even. That's right. It wasn't even a KC game. She doesn't have to go to any other game but a KC game. Come on. What are you expecting? Tay-Tay only goes to your games, buddy. He sported an all green outfit. What are we talking about? Oh, this is Us Weekly, I guess. He sported an all green outfit for the game, which marked Jason's 145th consecutive start for the Philly team. The Jets won 20-14, ending the Eagles' run as the only undefeated team in the NFL this season. Swift didn't accompany Travis to the game. Oh, is there trouble in paradise? I don't know. But the twosome each made surprise cameos on the season 49 premiere of Saturday Night Live. One night prior, Swift announced or introduced musical guest Ice Spice, with whom she collaborated on a remix of the Midnight song Karma. Travis, meanwhile, briefly appeared in a sketch poking fun at the NFL's constant coverage of his relationship with Swift. Okay, I don't watch Saturday Night Live anymore, admittedly. Sometimes I'll catch stuff from it, like little clips, because let's be real, it's not funny anymore. That might have been funny. I don't know. Hopefully they made fun of it well, because I think a lot of us are pretty sick of this little thing. But if you're not watching the NFL and you're not really catching these games, maybe you're not all that sick about it. But me, who does watch a decent amount of NFL and I'm catching this stuff, I just kind of want to pluck my eyes out at this point. Yeah, what are you saying, Joe? Yes, I am happy now. Hey Tay. Oh, buddy, I didn't even say the whole Tay-Tay and Trey on their date. I thought about that as I was coming up with the thing to talk about. I was like, Tay-Tay and Trey go on a date. I thought that's way too gay to say. So I didn't. Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. We got there. We're 50 minutes. We're well under. We're well under the hour. We're good. Thanks for joining, Joe. I guess Gizzo probably just went and smoked a J and took off. So as soon as I said I was going to talk about Tay-Tay, you'd probably like, no, no, way, way. There's too many of those. I'm going to stop. If you got here, if you caught any of this, if you're here now, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, share all that, do all the things you got to do, and join my friends here in the chat and talk to me. I like talking to people, so it makes the podcast a little more fun for me if I'm not just spewing out a bunch of news. Yeah. So what did you say? He went. Yeah, he went for a glizzy. Yeah, I'm sure he did. That's probably how he gets through the podcast half the time. So yeah. So if you didn't catch the whole podcast and you don't want to go back and watch the whole podcast, but you'd like to see some of the topics I talked about, you can catch them between Tuesday and Sunday at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you do catch one of those videos and you like it, do hit the like, share it, share with your friends. Let's keep building the channel, and I'll just keep pumping out nonsense, and maybe it'll be better nonsense. The more subscribers, the more I'm able to maybe monetize the channel, the more I'm able to put into it instead of this junk behind me here, which is my little. If you haven't noticed, I put something new there every week. So feel free to put in the comments if you notice what it is. All right. Well, thanks for joining, Joe and Gizzo, and anybody else who joined and didn't get in the chat. Look for me next week. I guess October 23rd, 7 o'clock, same time, and we'll see you then.